Welcome back, everyone, to another one-on-one with Jerry Hall. Today's guest is a YouTube and Twitter favorite, Mr. Jason Appleton, also known as Crypto Crow. We're going to talk about his start, failures, successes, lessons learned, and the new endeavor that I got very interested in. It's the Crypto Crow Cardano staking pool. We're actually going to walk through at the end, and I'm going to stake one of my 3 wallets to his staking pool. I really like Jason. He's a good man, and I like good people. He says what's on his mind, and he's not afraid to change his stance if new information comes to play. I think that is a tremendously humble thing, and it's one that I appreciate. Nobody needs to go down on their sword. We can all adapt, grow, and get better. So there it is. That conversation coming up right now.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Right on, Mr. Crow. So let's for the couple of folks that don't already know you, maybe not subscribers to your channel yet or haven't found you in any of the incredible places that you operate, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Let's do a quick, who are you? How'd you get into crypto? And for us, because I know you've had a heck of a journey, and I think it's an incredible story worth sharing with others.
Well, thank you. How did I get started? I was actually an independent business development consultant, and I worked with different companies from the Better Business Bureau to primarily mortgage companies. And my role was in building mortgage branch offices. And they a lot of people, at least in my market, would refer to me as a rainmaker, because I would go in and I could go to a mortgage branch, train the loan officers, hire, fire, help with marketing, build direct relationships with real estate agents, and basically double a branch's volume in 6 months. And, and I got a reputation for that. And I was doing really well with it. But then I took a job offer that I just couldn't refuse, because I was thinking about money first. And I was hired on as the vice president of sales for a national mortgage company. And I was in the process of building my own branch office in my market and hiring people, just doing everything associated with that. And I was still losing sleep. I wasn't happy. It's not really what I wanted to do anymore. I felt like I've already kind of reached a bit of a pinnacle in that industry for myself anyway. And I like to change industries every 6 to 7 years. I get bored. Once I feel like I've done something, I always want to be learning something new, new challenges, new ventures, So, and I happened across one of Ian Bellina's videos about ICOs. And he was literally like one of the first people I saw on YouTube. And I'm like, what the hell is an ICO? And so I'm watching these videos of his, and it just spawned like further interest. So I started watching everything I could, and I ended up getting some of the very few books at the time that were on Amazon. I read all of those just to understand blockchain technology, just to kind of understand what was making so many people so much money and why. And once I realized what the technology meant for the future, I realized that this was like an opportunity for somebody with very little to be competitive in investing in projects that could make them very wealthy in a relatively short period of time during a bull market, and not have all of the restrictions put on them that somebody trying to invest in the traditional stock markets. In traditional stock markets, you need a broker. You got to pay this guy to make your buys and sell orders. You got to pay this company. You have to jump through all these hoops. And if you want to get into an IPO, an initial public offering, which is where a lot of people make the bulk of their money, unless they're traders, then you have to be an accredited investor. And none of that applied to crypto at the time. It was just a strong opportunity for people, in the middle class or even not in the middle class, to rise themselves up. And so I took such a genuine interest that it's all I read and studied for like 30 days. I mean, 30 hard days. And by that, I mean, I don't mean like, oh, I read an hour a day for 30. I mean, I would wake up, and by the time I went to sleep, I've either read a book and watched 18 videos. And, you know, like that's what I did for 30 hard days, to the point where I had this epiphany towards the end where I woke up at 4 a.m. crying. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I woke up at 4 a.m. crying and hysterically laughing at the same time. And my wife thought I lost my fucking mind. She's freaking out. What's wrong? She's trying to console me. I'm like, no, it's good. It's good. I get it. I get it all. It all makes sense, right? Like, it's just everything I'd exposed myself to for 30 to hardcore days just finally clicked. And I realized that this was the absolute future as we know it. And I needed to play a role in that. And so as I continued to learn, I started doing a YouTube channel. I started this YouTube channel out of my office. And I basically started my channel with a silly little webcam and a crappy little microphone. And I just started sharing what I was learning as I was learning it, and explaining things in ways that wasn't overly technical, that wasn't above everybody's head. I wasn't trying to flex my knowledge muscles. I was just calling it how I saw it. And I started making investments. I maxed out 3 credit cards to build my first Ethereum mining rig. And then I started investing everything I'd mine into ICOs. And then I helped a friend of mine, and I helped him invest a little bit of money in some ICOs. And I ultimately turned $3,000 into like 90 grand in 60 days. And through that period, I showed everybody on my channel what I was doing, why I was doing it, the different projects I had invested in, why. I established kind of a metrics charting system of my own that kind of helped me evaluate different companies. And man, it just blew up. I just blew up out of thin air. I mean, I was getting 2,500. I was growing so fast that people were accusing me of buying followers. And like, I don't even know, like I'm a marketing guy, and I did SEO for, 20 years. But like, I didn't even, like, everything I'd seen about buying anything for YouTube just meant you'd get shut down. But I was growing so fast, 2,500 subscribers a day on average. And, I started my channel in November of 2017. So I was getting close to the peak already of the bull market. So I just happened to fall in at that perfect time with a new voice that people just knew they could trust. And I think that's what just pulled so many people in. And so, yeah, I mean, as the long story long, that's pretty much how I got my start.
Well, you know what's interesting? So I came into the space after you. I came in, it was, I came back from Costa Rica, having heard about Ethereum and Bitcoin mining from a bartender of all things in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. And came back January 31st. I made my first little purchase on Coinbase, February 1st, 2018. And that started where I started looking. So I was Google searching, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, things of that nature. And of course, when you do those Google searches, a lot of these things that come up were YouTube videos. I was watching and I found you. And I really did appreciate, I'll tell you, I'm very similar in that as I'm learning, I'm also teaching, because teaching something that I'm learning, if I believe in it, it like locks it in.
Exactly. It's the best way to learn.
It in. And being locked in to this space at a very early juncture was paramount. Now, I didn't start a channel and do all those things, but I was talking to friends. Had a couple of friends. We got a little investment team together. We were evaluating projects, and that's kind of how it went for me in 2018 till I moved down here to Costa Rica. I had changed my entire life plan built around my investment strategy for crypto. So I found you early on. I gravitated to you early on. And so thank you for that. Yeah.
Welcome. Yeah. I had no idea.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I really appreciated about you is that you would talk about how you felt and what you saw in that moment. And if somebody followed you, and let's just, I'm going to use an example. Let's say you didn't have anything good to say about XRP on a Tuesday and it's the 20th. Well, if new information came across your eyes and you understood it and believed it, on the 28th, you'd make a video saying, hey, I got this new information. And you know what? I'm probably going to change my tune on this because I'm seeing A, B, C, D, and E. Now, the point is not about XRP or this or that and the other thing. The point was, I saw you as somebody who holds your opinions loosely. In other words, you have them, you'll form them, you'll express them, but you're also willing to change them as new information comes to provide a deeper, maybe richer understanding. And that I appreciate, because there are people that will sell their snake oil regardless of how many people around them are saying, that's snake oil, it's worth, what are you doing? You know what I mean? They stick to their guns on it. You're willing to adapt, change, and grow. And I appreciate that quality in men, because there's a humility in that.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I think that the way I am overall, I've always been very much a call it how I see it. It is what it is. If you don't like it, tough shit, right? And I believe that a part of that stems from a luxury that I have, being a 7-foot tall, 300-pound man with sleeve tattoos and a martial arts background. Okay, there's a certain confidence that comes from just being me naturally. So I'm not afraid of speaking my mind, and I'm not afraid of being wrong. And I'm not afraid of changing an opinion when, like you said, if something changes, well, then something changed. There's no point in ignoring that just to maintain your original stance. That's ignorance. And so I don't think that it's possible to truly grow in a space that's moving at the speed of light at this point. And while I didn't like this last week, I still don't like it this week, even though it's doing a hell of a lot better and there's all this positivity going on around it. Anything, it's the same way as projects that I've absolutely loved and were completely bullish on, and I'm free to admit they're dog shit now. It's just anything can happen, whether it's a leadership change or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's just everything's moving too fast to be a staunch right or left or whatever. You know what I mean? You have to keep an open mind, because you just never know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's a part of the risk of cryptocurrency. Something that's extremely positive today could be the worst thing ever the next day. DeFi is a good example of that right now. So
I wasn't going to go there, but okay.
Yeah, I've not been a DeFi supporter at all. I mean, I know that people are making some money with it, but a lot of people are losing, especially now. And I've said on my channel time and again over the past month at least, I'm not touching it. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. I think it's a big cash grab. I think it's a bunch of people throwing, let's create our own DeFi platform and call it Sweet Potato, and we're going to throw it out there and tell everybody it's DeFi and wait for the money to come in, and it is. And then a couple weeks later, the token drops to nothing, and it gets a big hit, and a bunch of people are running around trying to figure out what the next thing is to put money into, and it's like BitConnect with prettier lipstick and a dress. Like, in my opinion, it's not the exact same thing, but it's just too risky to me. And I am very much about invest, like the video I just published today. I spent 2 days on that video specifically because I talked about some of my favorite projects based off of their fundamentals, their history, and their growth over the bear market. That's what means the most to me. This is a long game, and a lot of companies are going to rise and fall during difficult times such as this bear market. But the ones that have maintained and actually grown through this bear market, that's where I'm putting my money. I'm putting my money in the projects that I've seen withstand all this challenge and have risen 1,000%, since their lows 6 months ago. Because that tells me that the market's coming back, and as they're coming back, they're putting their money in the same places I am, which is where the fundamental establishment's been and is set to move much higher. And I believe that's where the profits are truly going to be made. This DeFi bullshit going on right now, to me, it's like a bunch of thirsty people just grasping at cactus water. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's not going to last. And a lot of people are still going to go thirsty because they're not putting their money where it makes the most, to me, financial sense.
No, I hear you. I'll put a cap on this DeFi thing. I was talking to a good friend, and we talk about cognizant biases. We look at things structurally as what people do, and one of the like dynamics that you can like look through the lens of is behavioral economics, right? And one of the explanations I have for this DeFi craze is that I honestly believe at its core a tremendous amount of the quote unquote retail crypto community is just fatigued. You know, I mean, you've got very solid projects that have been around for a long time that have literally been in a quote unquote relative to the, you know, December 2017 in kind of a stagnant bear market. You know, I'm talking about Bitcoin hasn't ever gotten no, you know what I mean? Maybe you had one day over 14,000. Ethereum's, the XRPs, you know, these are solid projects with solid, you know what I mean? They've proven that they're here. Yet not a lot of stuff going on, you know what I mean? Really, as far as price action goes. And I think there's a retail mindset around thinking that 2017 December should be happening once every year. I think a lot of people honestly believe that, or at least in their core they feel that. So anyway, I attribute some of this exuberance, right, that you talked about in the DeFi space to just good old-fashioned investor fatigue. They want some action. They came into this market because it's volatile. They want volatility, and guess what? DeFi is volatile, so have fun with it. I want to switch gears though and get away from that, because I think you bring so much value to the table when I look through a context of you've learned and you've applied. You've hit some home runs and you've struck out. And in my opinion, striking out is just as valuable as hitting home runs if you gained some lessons. So I don't want to dwell on things that weren't successful, but I would like to talk about what kind of lessons did you take from, let's say, the start your own exchange experience, the create a crypto conference in Cincinnati experience. These are things that on the surface didn't turn out to be hugely successful for you, but maybe they were. When we look at what lessons did you glean that you can take forward. Can we spend a few minutes on that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, well, starting with the exchange, where to even begin on that? I mean, really, the exchange was, so I have a trading bot, right? I have my own automated trading bot that I love because I'm very big into automated trading. I have another platform in development now that's been in development for the past year, getting ready to launch a private beta. And, you know, that should be very, very cool. And I can't wait to actually announce that and start using it on my channel and showing everybody. But then I had the exchange, and the exchange concept was basically, I was so tired of seeing all these exchanges with their wash trading and faked volume. And, you know, because the exchange industry really, while they generate returns from the transfer fees and the transaction fees and trading fees and all that, they make a significant sum by charging cryptocurrency projects just to get listed. And then they're provided with, you know, an insane amount of cryptocurrencies to start building the market on that exchange. So they're charging a fee, then they're getting crypto, then they're using that crypto, they're profiting from that through the initial buys and sell orders because they're making the market for that cryptocurrency. Yeah. And there's so much to it. And I thought, you know, it's so scammy in a way and it's shady in a way, but at the same time, with a new industry like this, maybe it's necessary. And I had a lot of questions about what was real and what wasn't, what was necessary and what wasn't, what's honest in this business, what isn't. And I thought the only way to find out is to do it, you know, is to launch an exchange and see what does it take, how, and understand that entire market, right? And I had a business partner of mine who I helped to do a lot of stuff with NASCAR and cryptocurrencies, and his boss, who's actually, you know, like a billionaire, He stepped up and he invested. And, you know, I had these business partners that totally trusted me, and they were all about, you know, we believe, you know, the goal was I wanted to create an honest exchange, a no bullshit, it is what it is kind of exchange. Without, I don't want to be scammy. I don't want to have, you know, shady fake volume. I don't want to do any of that. And I want to see when all these other exchanges are running into regulatory issues because they're pulling this trick and this and that, and they're building bad reputations. We want to be the cream that rises to the top by default. That was my whole business model, right? And I got a development team who had apparently launched, you know, 70 something exchange platforms, but they couldn't tell me who they were for security purposes. And, you know, let me just say that the one thing that I learned, because I ended up pulling the plug on it, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel secure with the way things were going. I didn't trust public money on this platform, and I just didn't feel right about it. And you know, some people were saying, "Well, we should do an ICO," and we spent 25 grand on a lawyer just to write a PPM memorandum for private investment capital. And and they were like, well, we just need to launch this. And my partners and everybody, they're like, oh, we just need to launch this. We'll have the capital and we can do this a different way. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this. And while that was happening, I felt like I was being pulled in one direction to acquire more investment capital, while everybody wanted us to launch with what we had the way it was and fix things as we went. But things were not being fixed the way they should have been in a timely manner, right? Which left my confidence very low. And when you're talking about what could have been potentially millions of dollars in other people's money, basically being put at risk on a platform that I felt just not comfortable with. And then all of the regulatory issues that could have stemmed from that, and just all of the, I just felt like it could have it could have went very bad. And I was not comfortable with that. And I was already losing a lot of sleep over it. And I said, you know what, guys, I can't do this. I'm done. And some people weren't too happy with that. But the one thing that I've learned is, if I were to ever do something like that over again, I would acquire my private funding, every penny that I needed up front to establish my own full stack senior ops level development team in-house, in like my own office. And that's how I would go about it. I wouldn't entrust it to an outside team with, I would just do it completely differently. And that is a lesson that I learned. And I feel like I knew where it was going. I had been in a similar situation in the past with a game. And I just felt like everything that I was doing, it just felt like, is this going to happen again? You know, because I had crowdfunded a game back in 2011 or 12 or something like that. No, it was maybe 2009. I can't even remember. It's been years. And it was like 100 grand, right? Maybe 120 grand or something like that. And man, I had this developer. He was like my primary developer, and he would make a bunch of promises, tell me I could do this and we could do that, and I'll have this done by this date and this done by that date. And then I would try to bring on other developers to help because things weren't moving fast enough. He would push them out because he didn't want anybody to know that he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he was kind of milking me the whole time. And we went from game engine to game engine to game engine. He was trying to find a game engine that would work, that he could use. You know, and then every time I bought a new license for another game engine, like, okay, is this going to work? Yeah, we'll be fine. And then 2 months later, oh, we're going to have to try this other engine. It was just constant. And the whole time, it's my name out there. It's my name that everybody's shitting all over. You know, I'm the scammer. I'm the bad guy because I crowdfunded this project. I put my faith in someone else. And the whole time, I didn't say anything because it was my responsibility. But because of the funding that we did have, it just wasn't enough to just completely change everything and everybody. I was so hopeful that maybe we'll hit this, maybe this engine will work and he'll be able to go, you know, flying and we'll get this all done. I had AAA developers. I had so much stuff going on. And ultimately, I ended up having to fund a lot of it towards the end out of my own pocket because it was always close. It was always close. And I felt like that was happening again. It was a similar situation. At least that's the way I felt. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this again. I learned from that failure from years back. And so I just nipped this in the butt before it became something that was really, really, that had the potential to go really, really wrong. So, and as for the exchange, I just really, or the convention, man, I had billboards all over. I had radio ads. I had all kinds of stuff. I was on the local news. I did an interview on the local news. I did so much stuff to try and, like when I scheduled that convention, Bitcoin was $4,000. And the idea was I'm going to bring a whole bunch of people from the Cincinnati tri-state area to one room. And I'm going to have some of the best minds in crypto. I had Alex Mashinsky. I had a bunch of great people at this convention over 2 days. And I just wanted to teach people in my tri-state area how they were going to get rich over the next 3 years. And I was very passionate about it. And I had offers. I had people, even my old business partner, he's like, look, Manny, you want to do this in Atlanta or New York or Chicago or a bigger city? I'll cover everything. And I'm like, no, I want to do this in my hometown because this is where I basically grew up. And I'm tired of everybody talking shit about Cincinnati and how they're 10 years behind and they're, this and they're that and this. And I'm like, I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to really learn something that they otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity because we're a flyover city for the exact reasons. It was dismal. Everybody that showed up to this convention was from out of state or out of country. I had people from Canada. I had people from all over the world come to this convention. There might have been 5 people from the local market. And I was so blown away, and I was honestly hurt. And I felt like, do you guys not realize what I just put into putting this on for you to change your life, to benefit you and your families, and to give you an opportunity to learn about something that's obviously doing well for me, and you stub your nose and you ignore it. Why? Because it's not Green Day? Like, what the hell is wrong with you people? If you're friends on my Facebook, you see how my life has changed over the last several years, and I'm trying to share this wealth with you at a $20 ticket price, no less. When other conventions are charging anywhere from $300 to $1,000, this wasn't a cash grab. I knew I was likely going to lose a little money regardless of what happened. That wasn't the point of this convention. And man, I'll never do that again. Like if I ever did any other convention, I would do it in a bigger city. Like, I just want to move out of here. I feel like I feel like everything about this city is honestly, and I hate to say it, I feel like it's self-deserving because people have no foresight here. The train of thought is go get a job for Procter & Gamble, work for 20 years, hope you can retire, and and that's your life. And it's like, that's the mentality around here. And I really tried to just change some people's lives. I really, really did. But I figure I'm just going to stick with YouTube.
Well, I'll tell you, Jason, I don't think that's unique to Cincinnati. And this is my experience. So obviously I'm living in Costa Rica, but I grew up in the United States. And for the most part, being open-minded and forward thinking is one thing. But understanding a value proposition is another. And I think you will agree, because you've had enough experience with other people, that the majority of people on this planet who went through public school systems, junior colleges, and state-type level universities did not come out of school with financial literacy, understanding principles of investment.
I didn't either. I'm a high school dropout.
Exactly.
I dropped out of high school my sophomore year and started my first business.
You had to
that's
learn
not an excuse.
Things. Here's the thing I've noticed. Once people start to understand how the current financial system works and the mechanisms involved with the exchange of value, whether it's within your national borders or cross-border, once they understand these things, then you introduce the crypto value proposition, and now all of a sudden it's like, whoa. You know what I mean? And so, my approach to people, like for instance, I have friends that do the reach out to Facebook, just had one yesterday. call me up. I've known him for 25 years. I see you posting all these interviews you're doing with these, real vision finance guys and these crypto guys and all this stuff you're doing. Give me the 5-minute rundown. I said, there is no 5-minute rundown, but I'll tell you what, if you really want to understand the value that the digital asset space is bringing to the world, go watch Mike Maloney's 8-part episode on the hidden secrets of money, so that you have an understanding of how the money system works, so that when I talk to you about what's going on in crypto, you can go, oh, okay, fixed supply is deflationary. Printing dollars to cover government bonds for deficit spending is inflationary. I'm using dollars in a currency that's losing value every single year. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. But if you don't have that basic understanding, then how can you appreciate the real value proposition? So that's
Right.
what I've been doing. It's been helping people. There have been a few people that have come back after watching, and they want to talk about how outraged they are that here is this monetary system that they've been living under for some of these people 50 plus years. They're my age, and they never had an idea that that is the way it is and has been the way it is. They're just oblivious to it. They make money, throw a little in their savings, put some money in their 401k, they buy a house, and they think they're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've just never been one to be that way. And I guess maybe life would be a little easier if I weren't the way I am. But hell, I used to run around as a kid with graph paper drawing, pixel graphics for a video game I was going to create someday when I was like 10, and I've always had goals of being more than those around me. And I don't mean that in like I'm better than. I just meant I've never been one to just get complacent and just satisfied with the now. That's why I was in the music business for 6 years, and then I was in the mixed martial arts business for 6 years, and then I was in the mortgage business for 6 years. And I always have to be challenged, and I have to be learning more, because I feel like when you have this feeling that you have gifts and abilities that you probably shouldn't have from your background, when you grow up with a single mother that's poor on Section 8, and you're, hell, I've been kicked out of multiple schools because I was just a little badass kid when I was little. I grew up in rough neighborhoods, and being a white dude in some of my neighborhoods, man, if you're not ready to squab for no reason at all, I mean, you're just going to be punked every time you turn around. And it's just like you grow up with a certain background, and you think, I shouldn't have some of these gifts or some of these abilities that I have. What the hell is the reason for it? What is my purpose? And so I'm constantly trying to, I still to this day, I struggle, because I'm trying to figure out, what is the purpose for me? Why am I even here? What am I doing? And I'm in my 40s now. And I'm thinking, am I doing everything I can be? If I'm not active, if I do not feel like I'm excelling at something, or I'm learning something, I get super anxiety ridden and I can't sleep. If I don't feel like I've accomplished enough in that day, I get really anxiety ridden. And my wife tries to cure it with drinking, but it's like I could never not have my mind open to something that is obviously a legitimate thing that's happening in the world today. And I think that when I take it back to the idea of this convention in Cincinnati, and it's like, I've got like 4,000 Facebook friends who they all see everything I've done over the past, decade or so. And they see how I've changed and how my life has changed, what I'm doing in my different businesses or whatever's going on. I share all of it. So anybody paying attention should know, oh, this convention isn't just this tall dude trying to sell us snake oil. This is a dude who legitimately changed his life in a matter of like a year. And he's trying to share what he's learned and what he's accomplished and trying to bring us along for the ride. I'm going. you know, and I think that was what just really bothered me about it all. And and I think that's one of the reasons why I am just so call it how I see it, because I don't look at myself as a very intelligent dude. I just, I have an ability to just kind of understand things and break them down in ways that people like me can understand them. And I really wanted to take advantage of that. I truly thought at the time that was like a good thing to do, but it is what it is.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I love that you're doing now, and we're going to spend probably most of the rest of our time together on this particular topic, is that as you put together a Cardano ADA staking pool. Now, let me tell you how I see it. I am not a stake pool operator. However, I am a holder of ADA and I am staking coins to various pools. We'll do a screen share here in a minute, but one of the elements that I absolutely love about this dynamic, and specifically proof of stake, that it's my wallet, my coins, I'm just delegating. And the people that I'm delegating to are literally my employees. They're working for me, right? You want my coins. You're going to provide, you're going to provide a service.
Give them to me now.
You know what I mean? And my entire life, when somebody performed a service for me, I had to compensate them. Well, this is completely the opposite. You're compensating me for providing me a service. That's a dynamic. I've never had an employee pay me to be an employee.
Technically, the node is compensating you for strengthening the decentralization of the blockchain itself. So you are providing
You're
a
going to
service.
get technical. I was getting all spiritual and metaphysical.
Okay, we can be spiritual.
You know what I mean? It's just there's a contextual shift there, and I like that. I really do like that. So while I'm pressing buttons and trying to get this all together, why don't you walk us through your Cardano story? Because I know it started a long time before you spinning up a node and creating a pool.
Oh, well, I mean, I first discovered Cardano like back when it launched, and I was one of the first YouTubers out there that just absolutely fell in love with everything about it. I mean, back when it was still just an idea. And, I think the first video I did about it, it was trading at like 33 cents. And after that video, it shot up to $1.33. And I've just been, I've had Charles Hoskinson on my channel several times, and every once in a while we'll chat, and I've just grown to, I'm always covering it on my channel because I truly love everything about it. And, when there's FUD and there are doubters and disbelievers, and this is one of those cases where I've held firm and strong. Even when Cardano was down to 0.02 cents during the bull or the bear market. And my only regret is that I didn't accumulate a shit ton more at the time. But I've accumulated some more since. But yeah, I mean, the stake pool, I launched actually with a developer partner. I have a full stack developer who's actually he's the developer for my trading bot as well. And he's the one that's developing my other platform, hoping I'll be able to launch it here by the end of this month in a private beta. But yeah, he's the one that did everything for the staking node. And yeah, I mean, we just launched. I mean, we were a little late. There are a lot of nodes out there that came out long before the Crow node, but we've been growing pretty steadily and doing pretty well so far. And we just made a bunch of changes literally over the last 24 hours that are going to continue helping it grow even faster. So yeah.
Well, right on. So I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna find yours pool, but before we do, let me just grab one. I'm indiscriminately. I'm pulling up this input output global. This is IOG number 13. Input output. I'm assuming this is one of Charles' pools, or at least
no idea, or it could be anybody, output, but
IOHK. So
a 1.6 million beta pledge. It's probably somebody official. I'm assuming, but you never know 100%.
So for the folks at home that might not be familiar with all this nomenclature, walk us down these particular, we've got rank, controlled stake, pool margin, pledge, cost per epoch, and produced blocks. Now, these are metrics that are available to view. The open public can view these on every single pool in this list of almost over 1,000 pools. So what do these things mean, like rank?
Well, rank seems to just, I don't want to say that it's been random. I know that there are some algorithmic changes coming. I think some of this stuff is a little more loose than people think. Like rank, I think changes a lot. I've seen my nodes rank jump all over the place. I've seen a lot of others. I don't really worry so much about rank. Controlled stake 0.7. I mean, that looks to me like there's not even that much being staked to that node in particular. Pool margin at 5%. It's basically like how much you're charging those that are the people that are delegating to you.
Okay.
So when they get rewards, they're going to be basically paying a percentage of that to the node operator. And cost per epoch is basically a cost to the node operator for continuing to run it per epoch. And then I think that's accurate. And then produced blocks are just the number of blocks that your node is minted over a period of epochs.
Oh, so the produced block doesn't represent how many blocks it produced in this current epoch. I mean the previous epoch. It's an accumulation of all the epochs that it's.
Yeah, I think that's total number. I think to that point. So that node probably started at the very, very beginning. And so it's produced a bunch of blocks since then. And I mean, from the looks of it, 292 blocks is an awful lot. So.
All right. So when I was here the other day, because I wanted to check it out, I put in Cardano, right?
Well, I mean, it's just Crow. The Crow node is mine. Yeah. But I call it Cardano as a joke, like Crow.
One up two. You've got two.
No, Crown is somebody else entirely.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. That's me being dyslexic. I'm pulling up the old Cardano stake pool. This is the official Crypto Crow Cardano stake pool, ranked 252, which is meaningless because I've seen everybody's boomed up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Controlled stake, 0.11% of the entire.
I'm actually thinking controlled stake is the saturation. It might be the saturation at that point. I got
it on good authority. Controlled stake, that percentage represents the percentage of every single the total volume of staked coins. So the total volume of staked coins, you have a little over 0.11% of them in your pool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Your pool margin is under 2%, which 2% to 3% seems to be common. You're over 100,000.
We just changed that from 5.
Over 100,000 pledged. Now, is pledge how much you've pledged or how much the total pool is pledged?
No. We're at like 17 million ADA staked to the pool so far. We grow every day. Right, no, so the pledge is how much I personally pledge to the node. So that's actually some of my Cardano.
Got it. And you produced a whopping 12.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I know for a fact that I'm going to stake some Cardano to you, and I'm going to stake it from my Jerry #2 wallet. Now, I believe I can just go to your pool. I can delegate to this pool, right? Wallet selection. Yes. I'm gonna go Jerry #2. Goodbye, Ed Dallo, and say hello to Mr. Crow. You have selected Crow. You're in there, Jerry. Continue. Bang. Ooh. Does this show my password? No, okay.
I don't think so, no.
It doesn't. We don't want my spending password on the internet. It's going to cost me a little under 0.2 of a Cardano to do it. Consider it done. You don't know how long I've waited to become part of the Crow family, brother.
Well, welcome.
Do I get a feather or anything?
Yeah, a feather. Yeah.
How about this?
Have you checked out Ada Pools? Ada Pools gives you all the stats you could possibly want on all the pools.
I did, and it was really overwhelming, and I decided that it wasn't that necessary, because I'll tell you, of the 3 pools now, so you're the 3rd, I personally interviewed on camera each pool operator.
Mm-hmm.
So I've developed a personal relationship with each one of my pool operators.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And maybe, just maybe, because you have such an incredible audience, you'll refer your audience to this video, this interview with me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That would be totally cool. And they could see what I did, that it's not just blowing smoke up your hiney.
Yeah, and I, like I said, man, I get a lot of people that want to do different things, and I'm generally so busy that it's difficult for me to do interviews and things. And of course, I have a crappy interviewed setup. This isn't my YouTube setup. But it's like I've seen, like, a lot of people. You said something on Twitter about wanting to do an interview, and then of course some other people were like, "Oh, Jerry's a great guy. You'll really like him." And yeah, I mean, you've been a complete sweetheart, and even talking off camera before the interview. I mean, I can tell you have a genuine fun interest in cryptocurrencies, and you're obviously vested, like you're. So yeah, man. I mean, it's been fun. I'll definitely be sharing it around in my communities on Twitter and everything else, and I love just kind of. I love people that are in the crypto space and they're here to, like, do good. There are just too many people that are selfishly trying to build their names and reputations off of just being disgusting to other people and this and that. And it's like, anybody that's trying to do good that's genuinely here for the technology and because they love what this is all about, I'm more than happy to share some love and be a part of it.
Right on. Well, we have a couple minutes left, and I wanted to spend it focusing on looking at the rewards, i.e. the distributions. And I think it's super, super important that people understand that this is not a static, consistent thing. It's going to be variable, but over time, consistent. And that's a weird thing. A lot of people don't understand that. So I'm going to
explain the lottery.
I'm going to explain it the best I know how to explain it. And as a pool operator, you can confirm or set me straight if I'm wrong. Sound good?
Okay, I'll do my best.
So the way the Cardano governance model works is on a fair distribution. It doesn't matter how many tokens. You can't build up an army like you could with proof of work and dominate the validation world and get all the rewards. So what that looks like but there is an element to how many Cardano do influence block creation, being able to verify and validate those blocks and get the reward. But over time, like I have 3 different wallets, they all have approximately the same Cardano. But yet, if you look at my rewards, there are 3 different sets of numbers. They are not close. 53 Cardano in one wallet, 141 in one, and 191 in the other. Now, over the course of a year, these should all literally be close to the same because of that fair distribution governance. Am I on the right track in my thinking, or is that just some hairy-fairy sentence I took from a Charles AMA and applied to this?
Well, I definitely don't want to argue Charles' points, but I don't. So there's a formula. There's definitely a pretty complex mathematical formula associated with staking and the rewards and how those rewards are calculated and distributed. And it's so I've had a bunch of different pool operators troll me over the past couple of weeks about my pledge, because when we launched the node, my pledge was 448 ADA. And a lot of people are like, well, you're not producing blocks. You're not producing blocks. And I kept trying to argue, because my developer and I have gone round and round about this, and of course he's in all the development groups, and he's asking all these questions, and a lot of people to date basically said pledge doesn't really matter much right now. If I were unknown and I didn't have my YouTube community and people just didn't know me as like the Cardano guy to some degree, I wouldn't be able to grow my pool as quickly as I did with such a small pledge. The pledge is primarily there to show people I'm a Cardano supporter, I'm invested, and I'm staking along with you, and my pool's not going anywhere, kind of thing. Almost like, maybe putting really fancy furniture in a nice new house. Like you're not squatting, you're there for a while, right? And so, but we started producing blocks finally, which was pretty similar in time frame. Like people started trolling me, and then out of nowhere we started producing more blocks. We're a brand new pool. Like we just started this thing, like not even a month ago. Right. Where other people had started their pools like at the very beginning. They were ready. You know what I mean? We had an ITN pool that did really well. But once Shelly launched, I personally wanted to wait a little bit because I wanted to make sure there weren't any little last minute bugs, nothing crazy going on. And, right. And that's just me. So yeah, I mean, and then once we started producing blocks, then people were like, oh, well, now you're producing blocks, but your pledge still is too small and this and that. And it's basically just people trying to promote their own pools on my Twitter feed by criticizing me and the way we're doing our pool. So what I did was I went ahead and I threw 100,000 Cardano or 100,000 ADA into the pledge just to shut people up. And I lowered our margin from 5% to 1.99%. And so it, of course, it's still growing. It grows every day. Our pool grows every day. I think we're getting close to 300 delegators right now, and it's a brand new pool. That's not too bad. At like over 17
301.
301 now. Thank you. So, and if you look at the actual calculations of the pledge, apparently the pledge, so the more Cardano, the more ADA you have delegated to a node, it increases your saturation. The more your saturation increases, the more the earning potential for the node. Okay. However, if it gets too high, then it can act as a deficit. It can work against you.
It mean reverts back to the center.
Right. And so at that point, you might raise your margin a little bit just to kind of push other people away. And, and that's when things really start to kick off and all of that. So it's just how you want to handle the business. You know what I mean? But pledge is a factor, but the pledge and even the margin, like a 2% margin over a 5% margin. Somebody in my Cardano node Telegram community did a bunch of number crunching and basically said that it would mean like 186 ADA in difference over the course of a year. The difference between that margin going from 5 down to 1.99. And like people say, oh, it sounds so big and crazy, but he's like, it's really not that big of a change. Like I think in general, when you're talking like, well, should all my rewards be roughly the same? I don't necessarily, I think you have the idea is everything is very fair, but I think some pools are likely going to produce more rewards than others. But yeah, I don't think I'd be shocked if each one of those wallets was pretty close to being the same thing by the end of a year.
Well, this is part of the experiment, right? This is part of the experiment. Like I said, each operator, now you're the third, each operator that I've delegated to, I've spent an hour on Zoom talking to, right? Consider it an interview, consider it what due diligence, whatever you want to call it. And it's done, and I'm comfortable with each operator. I'm absolutely steadfast comfortable with the underlying project. I don't want to get into a lot of speculation, but I believe migration is going to be a real thing over the next year. We will see migration once these new layers come, Gogan, et cetera, et cetera. From other platforms, over to Cardano. I think that's a very real thing. I honestly believe that. And it'll be interesting to see this space grow. And you know what? We may get to a point here in not too distant future where that 180 Cardano, that's not a big deal today. Well, you start getting up into that $2, $3, $4 Cardano for each ADA. Now 181 of them is absolutely, now you are looking at those minute details as an owner,
Sure.
as a delegator. So what an incredible conversation. I am so glad that you took the time, because I know you're busy, to read, and I told you in my tweet, I'm just a little guy, a little 3,000, 4,000 sub guy, but my audience is engaged and they're loyal and they're interested and we're learning and we're not tribalists. You know what I mean? We love XRP, we love Cardano, we love Bitcoin. There are projects we love. We talk about them, we share about them, we're learning together, and you have just become a part of that. So I want to say from my heart, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. And I will say the same thing to you that I said to BitBoy a year ago. I've known BitBoy for a while. I've met him in person. We've hung out many times. And, I always told him, look, the work that you do is genuine. It's fun. It's honest. You have a genuine interest in the space. You're not just doing a bunch of gimmicky stuff. And he was doing a lot of funny videos through the bear market, put a lot of time into a lot of his content. And he was just not getting anywhere with it. And I told him, I said, when the market starts to come back, you're going to blow the F up. And he's bigger than me now. So, just stay strong, stay true to you, do what you love, share what you learn, and you'll do fine. It doesn't always happen overnight. Sometimes it just takes a little while, but as long as you're true to yourself and you're just honest with the world, man, people will learn to love you and they'll start coming.
Well, that's the thing. I don't have a lot of expectations for huge sub counts and this monster YouTube revenue stream or any of that bullshit. Truth of the matter is my channel is already pledged. Every dollar that comes in from YouTube is going into a fund to create financial literacy tools, whether they be animated videos, teaching somebody how to use a compounding interest calculator. Somebody having maybe one just about inflation, somebody understanding that your dollar you put under your mattress today is only probably going to be worth 96 cents next year. We'll multiply that. What about over 10 years?
96, it might be worth 20 cents next year at the rate we're going. We'll see.
Well, yeah, broad money, based money, those are all, that's a whole nother topic. But final thought or goodbye to the audience, and we'll close this up and get you back to your life.
Invest in what you believe in and grow your coins. Some are going to fall to hell, and the ones that don't are probably going to outgrow and outperform what you lost from the bad performers. So just educate yourself, do your own diligence, and don't believe anything a YouTuber tells you. Like if somebody says something sounds great and you should go out and buy it, always assume they have an ulterior motive and do your own research and figure out your motive and your incentive on your own. That's it. Thanks for having me.
Well said. Folks, thanks for tuning into One-on-One with Jerry Hall. And until next time, Pura Vida.